Приветствую вас, друзья! Сегодня с нами на стриме Chyna Nicole, регги-исполнительница из Штатов, с которой познакомил меня Эрл Холдер, мой хороший друг, которого вы видели на одном из наших стримов. И когда я познакомился с музыкой Chyny, я решил, что нам обязательно нужно провести с ней стрим, поговорить о том, как она пишет свою музыку, чтобы она презентовала себя как артиста нам всем. В общем, должно быть интересно. Ребята, скажите привет Чайне в чате. Я сегодня слежу за текстовым чатом, поэтому вы можете задавать ваши вопросы, и я их буду адресовать непосредственно Чайне. Что ж, привет всем, поздоровайтесь с Чайной, а я пока переведу то, что я сказал. Hello, Chyna. I've just to talk, guys, to say hello to you in text chat, and we're starting. We're super excited to see you and to hear you here. So,
hello, Yorshoff. Hello, your entire brand, your entertainment. Hello to Earl Holder, who made our connection possible, who has been a staple in my career, my musical career. And I'm so excited to join your stream and your audiences and to hear a little bit about me and my music and my journey. So it's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great, thanks a lot. It is much appreciated to see you and to hear you today on our stream. Чайна только что сказала, что она очень рада быть сегодня здесь, она очень рада видеть всех вас, и, в общем, давайте начинать уже говорить. So, my first question would be, how did you start to be in music? Was it on your childhood, or you start your music career when you was an adult person already?
Well, that's a great question. I have been a fan of music since I was in my mother's womb. Literally, my mom used to sing. She was a singer at a young age, and my dad was a performer. A very hot performer back in his early childhood years. So I think just because of their influences of singing and performing, of course, influenced me at before I was even born. So obviously, when they had me as a toddler, the music was just seeping through my souls since then. And I didn't really begin songwriting until I saw Michael Jackson's cover of one of his albums, and I looked at, it was the back cover of it actually, and I looked at the information on it and the inserts and saw the structure of writing, and I saw chorus, verse, and just I was just fascinated by the way the language was just on the print itself. The print just spoke to me, and I said, you know, I love this. I can do this. So Michael Jackson was premier in my songwriting ability at the age of 5. That's how it goes back, seriously. And I wrote my first song, the real first song, at age 13. And my real recording, meaning published work, was not until 1994 under my father's label. But in the home, I've been always singing and writing.
Cool. Great. I need to translate it. Чайна сказала, что, точнее, я сначала спросил ее о том, когда она начала свою музыкальную карьеру, как она вообще начала жить в музыке. И она говорит, что она начала знакомиться с музыкой, когда она еще была в утробе матери. Ее мама была и есть певицей, ее отец исполнитель, и она всегда была в этом с самого рождения. В 5 лет она познакомилась с музыкой Майкла Джексона, и это был разрыв мозга для нее. Она увидела вот обложку диска, она увидела, какое огромное количество людей работало над этими записями, и она решила, что я тоже так смогу, я тоже так хочу, и она начала заниматься музыкой. В 13 лет она написала свою первую песню, и в 1994 году она выпустила свои первые треки на лейбле ее отца. Вот это было начало. So, Chyna, it looks like it was a great journey from scratch, you know, from your first breezes.
Absolutely. I'm here doing pictures of you, Yorshoff. It was a great journey. You know, thinking of childhood years, I was choreographing dance routines from high school We used to perform in different cities in Connecticut, and I was one of the premier leaders of dancing. So I was always in the arts and always into performing, and always writing songs. My friends just looked upon me as that person with this big talent. And I mean, I've been in talent shows, all kinds of things growing up. And I've always been just glued to music. And in those days, it was mostly R&B, rhythm and blues music, and dance music in those days.
Great. Чайна говорит, что она вот реально всегда была в музыке. Она занималась танцами, занималась пением, занималась всем, что угодно, что связано с музыкой. Она участвовала в талант-шоу. То есть музыка всегда была частью ее, независимо от того, в каком городе она жила, в каком городе она была. Это всегда был ее мир. Окей, Chyna. So you've started your music career pretty when you was pretty young, really, and your most inspiring guy was Michael Jackson. But it looks like you've not starting to copy Michael Jackson. It is because of your Jamaica roots. Or not, because you're more in reggae than in pop music like Michael Jackson.
That's a good question, Yorshoff. So what happened was reggae found me. My mother and father used to play reggae music all the time. And growing up, I was more inclined to Michael Jackson and the pop cultures you mentioned in R&B. However, it wasn't until my father invited me to come to Jamaica in 1994 because he knew I was talented, and those genres wasn't giving as many opportunities for me because I was born here in New York. So when I went to Jamaica in 94, my father invited me to come and record and listen to reggae music. I've always listened to reggae music, by the way. But it wasn't until then I really realized that, wait a minute, they're onto something. I love this music. I love the culture. I love the people who are my people also. And let me just go back a little bit. I know you have to translate, and I'm mindful of that. But in my teenage years is when I really started loving reggae. And it was artists like Sanchez, Barrington Levy, Shabba Ranks, those artists.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there because I know you have to translate.
Yeah, great. No problem. I'm keeping in mind all the things. So
Awesome.
it is not first stream, so I'm trying to practice in holding everything, in holding all this information in one piece,
Good. Wow.
Окей. Chyna говорит, что она начала знакомиться с музыкой, с поп и R&B музыкой, но я ее спросил, все-таки она больше исполняет регги, чем поп и R&B, и это связано с ее корнями на Ямайке, и она говорит, действительно, когда она в 94 году поехала на Ямайку, ее отец пригласил ее туда записать какие-то музыкальные произведения, она приехала туда, и она действительно осознала, что это ее, что она чувствует эту всю регги-тему, она чувствует Ямайку, и поэтому она начала включаться в это движение очень быстро. И когда она была тинейджером, она очень много слушала регги-музыки, и это очень сильно на нее повлияло. So, we could say that Jamaica was your real homeland, not USA. Yes, or I'm wrong?
Well,
with it?
I would say, and I am going to say that America is me. I am definitely American. I'm proud to be American. I'm proud of being born in Harlem, which is a mecca for Black music and culture and expressive arts. So I'm so proud of that culture because this is where I'm born. However, I'm also in love with the fact that my mother and father are Jamaican, and I'm also Jamaican because those are my roots. So
Yeah.
there is no picking or choosing in that way. I am who I am, and I'm the best of both worlds, and I embrace both cultures.
Great, I need to translate it. Я только что спросил у Чайны, она считает Ямайку своей настоящей родиной? Она говорит, на самом деле не до конца, потому что она американка, она чувствует себя американкой, она очень гордится тем, что она могла быть в Гарлеме, впитывать вот эту музыку, музыкальную культуру Америки, но в то же время ее отец и мать из Ямайки, она сама ямайка, и поэтому вот обе вот эти культуры она вплетает в себя и чувствует частью себя. Okay, China. I understand that Jamaica and USA is a part of you, two big parts of you.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned that your first songs, first big songs, I mean, was recorded on Jamaica. And it was a start of your reggae career, or it was a kind of experience and experimental stuff. And in future, you're thinking about making more pop and R&B stuff. What was your thoughts on it that time? Not today, that time, 1994.
Okay. Well, you're right. It was experimental. I was always, after my teenage years being immersed with reggae, really enjoying it and falling in love with dancehall and reggae. My father, he's a producer and he was an artist, so he knows voice, and he knows that if he's able to train me and coach me to sing on reggae rhythms, that it'll marry each other wonderfully. And I will continue to sing reggae. So it's not like I'm saying this is experimenting now, even this just 20 years ago. This is my life. This is my career. I love it. A part of my career, because I'm also an educator, and that's a big piece of who I am as well, very proudly so. So I would say to your question that I embody both worlds. So when you hear my music, even in '94, you hear American voice, American singing, Black singing, I would say, Black American artistic singing. And I really don't like to put labels, but that's who I am. And you hear, the reggae come out, and it's embedded. So there's no separation. It's like it's woven together.
Great.
And those records may not have been big, because let's face it, I'm still there's still a market that doesn't know me, like your Russian audiences and European audiences. But the awareness is definitely climbing. So we're getting there.
Yeah, of course. I say big, but I mean real records, not like home practicing or stuff like that, but real professional recordings. All professional recordings are big for me, because you're famous or you're not famous is kind of marketing stuff and not music at the end, So. 1994, I heard these records, and I really like it. It was interesting, When was 1994? I was 4 years old guy.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, indeed. But you was already a professional singer that time. You've just starting. But I when was 1994, I was not starting to piss in my pants,
Yes, but to me
it is a big difference.
Yeah, right. And that's great that you're that you still right now. I just feel like it's good to have you really embrace reggae music in the way you have, being that 20 years ago you were just really being bored, so but to that end, to me 20 years ago was really like yesterday to me.
Yeah, of course.
I remember being right in Jammy's studio in Waterhouse, Kingston, Jamaica. I remember seeing Bounty Killer, who knows my dad. I remember seeing, all of Jammy's children who are into music, and my father, who was his neighbor, of course, who the whole community knows from when he was DJing, and how you, Roy, used to mentor my dad, you know, when he was a younger, you know, kid, um, and young in the business rather. So it's honestly, 94 was a time for me. It feels like yesterday because I remember everything so vividly.
Okay, great. I need to translate it. Я спросил у Чайны, да, мы очень много проговорили. Сейчас я попытаюсь все это устаканить у себя в голове. Я спросил, как регги и поп-музыка в ней сочетаются. Она говорит, что вот когда она поехала в 94 году на Ямайке, регги это был скорее эксперимент, то есть посмотреть, что из этого может выйти, потому что она училась в Штатах, она исполняла, она пела американскую музыку, то есть она была полностью в американском музыкальном движении. И приехав на Ямайку, она увидела и услышала, что регги это будет часть ее, потому что она это чувствует, она этим живет. И в то время она очень много работала с различными шикарными музыкантами, она нескольких назвала, я думаю, вы слышали. Она работала на студиях на Ямайке, и ее отец помогал ей в то время развиваться в музыкальном плане. И я говорю Чане, что, блин, 94-й год, это было так давно. В 94-м году мне было всего 4 года, а она уже в то время начинала заниматься музыкой профессионально. Это очень круто. И она говорит, что 94-й год, кажется, что это было 20 лет назад, но она помнит все очень хорошо, как вроде бы это было вчера. То есть вот эти воспоминания, они не забываются, они идут с тобой всю жизнь. И именно поэтому регги и стала ее частью, неотъемлемой частью ее музыки, наравне с поп и R&B влиянием. Окей, China.
Yes.
Yeah, we could continue. I've just translated all this stuff.
That's awesome.
So you've mentioned that education and you as educator is a big part of your life. How it connected to music? Is your educator in music, or your work on different direction as a teacher, as a mentor, as an educator?
Yeah, you know, for me, it's all one melting pot for me, because I bring a lot of my artistry into what I do daily. Even if the Common Core standard is about English or math, or we're doing technology, whatever area the focus is in implementing and designing solid programs. And even when I was in the classroom, I still will teach songwriting. I still will teach, you know, to the students' passion of learning in the arts, bringing in people who also have been around the world to share their experiences to students. So bringing in those resources. I'm a fan of arts and education, even though we know English language arts and sciences, sometimes they're just cut and dry. But I believe that embedding the arts in different areas of content, across content, certain, and there's research behind it that students do excel, you know, with testings, state tests. So I'm a proponent of arts and education. I've always will be. In a sense, people may not see automatically how they marry, but people who actually have lived through the arts and really studied and researched and seeing the growth and how it really does enhance students' conceptual understandings, artistic understandings, and how the results are just heightened when they're exposed and actually practice music and the arts. They see a big difference in that whole child when you develop the whole child. So for me, it's definitely interwoven and integrated. And
Cool.
it'll always be my passion, because I love to work with children. I love to see them progress. I love scholastic achievement and academia. And because I was also a scholar as a child, you know, a valedictorian in my 8th grade class. I'm a part of the Global International Honor Society, even now. So I'm just a student of learning, and I think we all should be. And the arts for me is a great way to not only ensure that you can obtain information, but also to express yourselves in the most passionate ways. That's
Cool. Great. That's super interesting. Okay, I'll translate it to guys. Чайна говорила, что она, помимо того, что она певица, большой частью ее жизни является ее работа как преподавателя. Когда Эрл Холдер знакомил меня с Чайной, он сказал, что у Чайны есть PhD, то есть у нее есть научная степень, это эквивалент нашего кандидата наук, то есть Чайна очень образованный человек. И она вот только что сказала, я его спросил, не мешает ли ее карьера как преподавателя ее каким-то музыкальным взглядом и музыкальным веянием. И она говорит, что на самом деле эти вещи для нее тесно переплетены. То есть она преподает, и независимо от того, что она преподает, английский, математику, неважно, что она рассказывает своим студентам, детям, она вплетает в это все искусство, то есть музыкальное искусство, искусство в широком смысле является частью вот этого всего, потому что она считает, что без искусства образование является неполным, оно является немного ущербным в каком-то смысле. И вот своим каким-то вариантом преподавания она считает вот эту интеграцию науки и искусства в единое целое. Great. It is super exciting to talk about all this stuff, you know, because this year in science community is not the whitest year at the end, you know, because there are a lot of political discussions about alternative theories, alternative science, and alternative stuff like that. We've talked about it with Earl Holder as well, because a lot of things try to be wrong, because you have science facts and nothing alternatives on it, you know. And it's great that you're trying to make all this integration, science, arts, and making all these facts bigger and better than anything, even on these dark times for science in USA, because it's horrible, you know. I saw all this news about all this political that Darwin theory is just a theory, you know. It's kind of interesting discussion, and for me to see you're a PhD, yes, Earl mentioned it.
So yeah, when it comes to the political arena, I try to stay away from that, and just, you know, because the context of this is really about me being an artist, and some, you know, of course, we're going to touch upon the fact that I am an educator. I just want to make a slight correction. I was in a doctoral program, but I took a break, and I graduated with a 6th year, which is postmasters in educational leadership, and I certainly will continue to finish the doctoral. Music just kind of intervened, which is and it was just completed an album with some amazing reggae stars like Sly and Robbie and the Taxi Gang, who, you know, they're Grammy Award-winning musicians and producers.
Yeah.
And also on my latest album, Higher, is Yami Bolo, who's also Grammy recognized recipient. He was on a Damian Marley's album, Welcome to Jamrock. So Yami Bolo's on that album. Chuck Turner is from the Jammies days, who's also a mentor for me in music. He's on my album. Althea Hamilton, who's primarily a background singer for Luciana Buju and a host of amazing artists. She passed away. She's on my album. I want to highlight her. And Tabby from the Mighty Diamonds. He did an introduction on my album, who was also from the community where my father's from and my mother's from, in Waterhouse, Kingston, Jamaica. So you know, in retrospect of what's going on with alternative facts, I'll just briefly just say that I'm a proponent of facts, and Arts it's not that it's not that cut and dry, as you know. It's subjective. It's how
Yes.
you feel, and that's what. And I'm that type of person, even as an educator who is always about being the proponent of advocacy of students, how we feel, how we're passionate about. So to me that marries, because it's about expressing your feelings about a particular subject, and think about it. If you think about debates, you're expressing your views on on a perspective. So yeah, the political arena in America, we're not going to touch upon that.
Yes, yes, of course, of course.
But we can certainly say that there are great politicians, great musicians, great artists, great people like Earl Holder, who is my continued music mentor, who's fascinating in himself, obviously, with his own hardball creation of mastering. He marries science and arts. That's a person right there that we can just kind of think about and what he's accomplished in music. The fact that he's just created a mastering design software with his colleagues. He's the premier person for that, and then he's able to make music sound better. There you go, science and music. So people, it's not that difficult when you think about what takes place with innovators like Earl Holder, like Apple. They're able to make music sound better, film sound better, soundtrack of film, but yet it's still science behind it, So
Yeah,
I'm hoping
of
I'm
course.
able to make some connections to the academia piece and my artistry.
Cool, great. Мы только что с Чайной поговорили на довольно такую щекотливую тему. Я ей рассказал свои впечатления от того, как наука развивается вот в этом году в Штатах в связи с вот этими всеми политическими событиями, что появилась куча альтернативных теорий в науке, куча всяких замороченных вещей, которые к науке никакого отношения не имеют, и как она к этому всему относится. И она говорит, что на самом деле она старается быть в стороне от политики, и она больше включена в музыкальный движ. Она старается больше соединять науку и искусство. И вот она говорит, что в этом плане Эрл Холдер, например, очень сильно преуспел вместе с его программой Harball, потому что она соединяет в себе и науку, и искусство. То есть чистое знание и чистая страсть соединены в одном ключе. И это вот только один из примеров, которые существуют. Чайна говорит, что очень много людей вокруг нее объединены вот этим всем научным и музыкальным движем. На ее альбоме Higher, когда вы посмотрите его на iTunes, посмотрите в кредитах ребят, которые участвовали в записи, в продюсировании, в производстве этого альбома, вы увидите кучу имен, которые получали Грэмми, такие как Таби, Алтея Хамилтон, Слай и многие другие. Ее альбом наполнен звездами. Он как раз и является одним из воплощений вот духа, который Чайна пытается донести до своих слушателей, до своих студентов и до нас, до ее новой аудитории, новой восточноевропейской аудитории. Okay, Chyna, I've just make a brief view of what we're talking about. Let's talk a bit more about your album Higher. It looks like it is your second album, and it is pretty new. Which difference between this work and the previous one, your debut album, which was on 2013, if I remember correctly. What was the main difference, and why this difference is here? Yeah.
Well, I think one of the main differences between the debut album and the Higher album is that the debut album also were collectibles of songs that I have done in early 2000. So songs like DNA, songs like Love Remains, songs like Love Remains, songs like, there was another song that I did that was earlier on. It just jogged my memory. It'll come back. But there are a couple of songs on that album that were done in the early 2000s and that I put on this album, 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World, because they weren't released and they needed to be released. So that's one main.
These songs on album Higher, not on your debut album, yes? Or I missed something?
No, so the songs I just mentioned, Love Remains, that was done in early 2000s. So the debut album that came out in 2013 was entitled 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World. There were recordings on there that were previously recorded and may have been released locally in Jamaica, but hasn't been released like on a broader scale, like streaming, like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon, like all those premier streaming sites. So the producers gave me the opportunity, and another song called oh my God, it just slipped me, but it will come back to me. That's on 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World. That just needed to be out. So that's the difference. Some recordings that were older that we put on that album that needed to be heard. Also, I think 20 Years in the Making, in addition to just previous recordings that are now released, is the fact that we're marrying kind of like the old school Studio One kind of feel with the first album, like my song Hardcore Love, which produced by Bunny Striker Lee and myself. That song was a classical rhythm from Conversations Rhythm. It's actually called the Conversations Rhythm that Bunny Striker Lee produced. And I was allowed to utilize that track and put out my song with Chuck Turner as a lead on it as well. That song is called Hardcore Love. That's on the debut album. So you get a different feel. You get a more vintage kind of feel with the 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World. Those are the two main, differences. I think.
Great.
Don't forget about Cool Operator. We did a remix. I can't forget that, with Grammy Award-winning group Black Uhuru. The lead singer Andrew Bees is also on that first album, 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World. We did a remake to the Delroy Wilson big hit, Cool Operator.
Yeah, great. Okay, I need to translate it. Я только что спросил Чайну о том, как она видит различия между ее альбомом Higher, это ее второй альбом, и ее альбомом 2013 года 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World. И Чайна говорит, что на самом деле вот этот альбом, первый, он достаточно сильно отличается от нового альбома Higher, потому что треки, которые в него входят, писались в течение практически 20 лет, действительно. То есть первые из вот этих песен были написаны в начале 2000-х, и этот альбом, можно сказать, он более винтажное звучание имеет. Она назвала нескольких продюсеров, которые и артистов, которые участвовали в записи этого альбома, такие как Чак Тернер, Junior Cat, Джованна Джи и многие другие. То есть вот набор и музыкантов, и продюсеров был очень винтажный, очень традиционный. В то время как альбом Higher — это уже более свежая работа с большим уклоном в поп, в R&B, и здесь также очень много коллабораций, например, с Ями Боло, Робби and the Taxi Gang на альбоме Higher, также с Чаком Тернером и другими ребятами, с той же Тебби, которую я уже упоминал ранее. И вот когда вы будете слушать вот эти альбомы, вы услышите достаточно сильную разницу в звучании между вот этими вещами. Okay, Chyna, but
I heard you say something in your language about Junior Cat. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Junior Cat, how could he, again, from the old school, Super Cat's brother, amazing, lyricist, live and in studio, and a great overall artist who's on that first album. So that first album is definitely rocking. It's a great album. And so thank you for mentioning Junior Cat.
Yeah, I know because I know this guy, pretty famous in this types of music. Maybe famous for smaller amount of people, but I know this, and that's why I've mentioned it to guys, because several of these names are more famous in USA or in Jamaica, but not well known in European countries, and that's why we're starting mentioning it, growing this interest and stuff like that. It's always interesting. Okay, I have the second question. We've talked a bit about music influences, and we've talked about difference in music between of these two works. I mean, Higher and 20 years. But what about vocal? Is it feels different for you in vocal performances, or is it the same but with kind of a bit of auto-tune and poppy stuff on album Higher? How it feels for you?
Okay, so if I'm understanding your question, you want to know what is the difference between singing live and singing in the studio, and what nuances are there on the new album Higher versus...
Not correctly. Not live and on studio, but between these two albums, because songs I've heard on first album different than on Higher album. Your vocal performance is different, and everything is different, and I'm interested in how it feels to you, why it's different, and what is different for you especially between all these works.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I want to just point out the other song that I said it slipped me was that was recorded early 2000s, that's on the 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World debut album that released in 2013, is a song called In My Arms Again.
Yeah.
Which had some live instruments. So that was also a previous recording that was put to this album. So that's a good question, Yorshoff. There is a difference. I think that the maturity in voice is definitely one of them. The difference is that I was able to also work in a live session, my first ever live session, kind of like how they did it when Michael Jackson and the Beatles and all those amazing acts, and Ella Fitzgerald, and if you think about just the Harlem Renaissance, that whole period where you really had live musicians and singing live. That was my very first time experiencing that, and I am so appreciative of that experience. And I'm referring to the song Oceans and Windows on the new album Higher.
Great songs. Excellent song.
Thank you.
People in chat say that it's great, really great. It's impressive.
Thank you. We have a video for that song Higher, produced by myself and my father, Carl Williams.
I published it today on my social networks in vk.com. It is a kind of Facebook for a Russian-speaking audience. And I've published several of your songs. Movie Star Love.
Yeah.
The second one is I Do, which I really like.
Thank you.
And the third one is Oceans in Windows. Super great song. And you're so awesome and cheerful with Gary there. A lot of hugs,
Yes, the extraordinary producer who's ready to shake the world. We're going to work on some things, so I'm sure at the later time Gary will be on to tell you about his journey. But yeah, he's in the video Oceans and Windows, and thank you for highlighting those songs on your networks, because they're so deserving of being just highlighted and featured. So I really appreciate that. You talked about auto tunes. You're right. I am not a fan of auto tunes. However, the new age, they do like to spice up or put a little sugar, as Gary and his friend Banks say, a little sugar on this part of the voice or whatever that means. I'm like, my voice already has sugar. I'm just kidding. So in Movie Star Love, big up to Jerry Music and the mixer engineer there, Red Boom, you can tell they utilize that on some of the vocals, and it's the new age. We don't overdo auto tunes, you know, because again, I'm not like a big fan, but it does bring another element to the vocals. But in Ocean and Windows, there's no auto tunes. That's all natural vocals in Oceans and Windows.
Yeah, it sounds live, and you know, I really like your live performance. It is not perfect on every notes, on every phrases, and because of this, it sounds so natural, so smooth, and so warm. You know, because all this autotune stuff, they robotize your voice, and they kill the soul inside songs from time to time, and it's not something I really like on every songs, you know.
Not on every song. Right.
Because producers in USA try to overdo with autotune, even if it's not necessary. They're trying to autotune kind of
everything.
It's not so great. But you're natural, you're live, you're not kind of not artificial, you know. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate you saying that. Oh, you got to translate?
Yeah, I need to translate it.
Okay.
Я спросил у Чайны, как она видит разницу в своем вокальном исполнении между первым и вторым альбомом. Я указал на то, что во втором альбоме, в альбоме Higher, я услышал достаточно много автотюна, с чем это связано и как она вот эти вещи для себя вот объясняет и как она их чувствует. И она говорит, что первый альбом, который она выпустила, то есть 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World, был более живым альбомом, то есть с ней занимались вокальные продюсеры, и они старались сделать живую запись, более приближенную к чему-то натуральному. А альбом Higher — это уже более, что ли, коммерческое звучание, и здесь она уже использовала автотюн, потому что это более новая музыка, более новое вокальное исполнение, и это что-то более современное. И ей нравится экспериментировать с вот этими вещами, но в то же время вот песня, которая многим из нас понравилась, песня Oceans in Windows, была записана без никакой вокальной обработки, то есть без автотюна, это полностью живое исполнение. Оно не всегда идеальное, но в то же время это очень натуральное, очень гармоничное, очень естественное исполнение, что создает определенное тепло и определенную искренность в записях. So I've made a short brief on this. And which song on album Higher is your favorite and why?
That's a tough one. I love all the songs. Can I just seriously, I know that sounds, you know, cliché, but it's true. If you think about Higher, produced by Computer Paul, we just haven't roped ourselves around to get a date to do this video because there's so many other projects coming at me with budget behind it. Why, you know, we make certain decisions. But Higher is definitely a song that because it has an old school feel. Computer Paul is also a musician. He's another Grammy nominee, a musician and producer. But he also understands, you talk about the international market, and I appreciate your take on your production, you know, on that side of the world versus America, because, you know, I think this album embodies both flavors. You get the natural, like Oceans and Windows, and then you get the movie star love. Higher doesn't have any auto tunes in that song, and I just love the feel of that song. Beautiful Day, I sung that at a school, and the kids were singing that song, and I think it's just a universal song too. Beautiful Day,
a great song. And what about Althea Hamilton?
Althea Hamilton.
Why you decided to invite it to Beautiful Day?
Well, she's a amazing harmonizer. She's a great singer, and she hasn't. And when I spoke to her, she, you know, before, when, you know, she's passed on now, but she told me that she really wasn't highlighted as a singer, and that was fine for her. But I just know that there's so many beautiful women who has these great voices that really need to be heard. So although you don't hear her as a soloist, you hear her in the backgrounds as well as myself. And I just wanted to just highlight her and as a special tribute to her. So, and I knew about her condition during the recording of the song. So that's my own little.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, Wine on Me is another great record, actually produced by a man in Montserrat. It's a dance record. I don't have too many dance records on any of those two albums, but this album, that's another difference with this album. There's a dance record. It's complicated with Yami Bolo, who's acoustic, who, you know, Yami's well known in the reggae fraternity and sorority, I would say. Yeah, so Half Empty, produced by Black Scorpio. That's another, you know, record that I want to highlight, because Black Scorpio Records, he started from Sound System. He is a Sound System, and then he morphed into a label. And Barrington Levy, Sanchez, all those people that I talked about that I grew up listening to, they recorded for and Luciano, Black Scorpio. So it was great to have him a part of this project. And, you know, the list goes on with, you know, Tachilla Clark singing a little love song. Has His Majesty Completes Me, Jaja's Love. So this album, I mean, we have an instrumental track on there, which you don't really find on albums, because I love music and I love instruments. And I know there's people that out there who really just want to hear just an instrument from a track. So we added that song named after my father. He titled it, called Jassy Special, which is a track to Oceans and Windows. So, you know.
Cool. Great. So you really like and really love all these songs really in your album, and couldn't choose the one biggest and the one the most biggest for you.
Although I'm hearing Oceans and Windows is a record that really can break, you know, if it was promoted or when it gets the right exposure off the album. I'm hearing that a lot.
Yeah, this song is great, but I'm not. You know, when I've listened to these songs, I've to try to ask myself which songs is my best. But I guess Beautiful Day is best for me.
Thank you.
It is simple. It is powerful in this simple, and I don't know, it's so real and so live and so exciting. It's great. Beautiful Day is my favorite indeed.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Окей, I need to translate it. Я спросил у Чайны, какая любимая ее песня на альбоме Higher, и она говорит, что она не может выбрать, вообще не может выбрать, какая песня реально ей нравится больше. Она говорит, что Higher — это вот хит, который очень свежо звучит, он очень новый, и ей песня эта действительно нравится. Она сделала на нее клип, то есть это вот какая-то важная вещь. Потом песня, которую мы уже называли, Oceans in Windows, это еще одна песня, которая действительно ее впечатляет. На ней нет автотюна, она очень живая, очень естественная, с очень жизнерадостным клипом. Песня Beautiful Day, в которой принимала участие Алтея Хамилтон, это бэк-вокалистка, которую Чайна захотела указать в вот этом треке, потому что она невероятная девчонка, и Чайна захотела сделать небольшое такое продвижение для нее с помощью вот этой песни. И я говорил Чайне, что когда я слушал альбом Higher, Beautiful Day для меня лично является песней номер один. На самом деле здесь очень много разных композиций, очень много работы с различными продюсерами. Чайна их называла, но слишком много имен я не смог удержать в голове. Пересмотрите внимательно, там будет несколько имен. Окей, China, I would like to ask you to repeat some of names was invited in this album, because it is difficult for me to catch all these names, but I want to introduce them to our audience.
Absolutely. The introduction is by Tabby of the Mighty Diamonds.
Окей, wait a second. Песня Introduction, в ней принимал участие. Tabby from...
Tabby of the Mighty Diamonds.
Tabby is Mighty Diamonds. Okay, next
Big
one.
reggae group.
Yeah, okay, great. Next one.
The next song, His Majesty Completes Me, is a new producer. That's by a new producer, Harino Bailey of Natty Power Records. So that's...
Harino Bailey is Native Power Records, работал над песней His Majesty Completes Me. Yes?
Higher is by the acclaimed computer Paul.
Higher...
Grammy nominee.
Окей, над Higher работал компьютер Пол, он Грэмми-номинированный музыкант-продюсер. Окей.
Beautiful Day is produced by Pluto of PRR Time Studio here in New York. Also a new producer.
Beautiful Day был спродюсирован Pluto в Нью-Йорке. Окей.
And features Althea Hamilton, who's a renowned reggae backing vocalist. Yeah. Movie Star Love was also recorded in Jamaica. That was recorded in Jamaica, and is produced by another new producer, Jerry Music, out of Friends for Real Camp.
Jerry Music, yes. Movie Star Love была спродюсирована Jerry Music на Ямайке.
Wine on Me, produced by Sean Cassell of Montserrat.
Montserrat?
Yes.
Interesting.
But he lives in the UK. But he lives in the UK. That producer.
Oh. Wine on Me была спродюсирована по продюсерам из Великобритании.
Montserrat Island.
Oh, Montserrat. Okay.
But he lives in the UK, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Complicated is produced by Yami Bolo, the reggae singer.
Yeah. It's Complicated была спродюсирована Ями Боло, он указан в артистах, которые участвовали в этой записи также. Это регги-исполнитель.
The Right Stuff is produced by Trevor Elliott and Bunny Lai Lai.
Trevor Elliott?
Yes.
I guess I know this guy.
You know Trevor Elliott from Florida, music ambassador?
Oh, yeah. I guess I know. We're not meet personally, but I've heard some of his works because I'm remembering this name, you know?
Yes, he has a lot of works, and Bunny Lai Lai is an artist he works with in England, and Bunny Lai Lai really is the one who connected me to Trevor, and he's the one who said, Chyna, I would love for you to write a song to this track. So Bunny Lai Lai gets respect for that, and Trevor Elliott agreed, and that's how that happened. And he also has it on his label too as a single. So, and that's actually one of my father's favorite on the album, The Right Stuff.
The Right Stuff. Cool. Только что Чина указала продюсеров Бонни Лайлай и Тревор
Elliott.
Yeah, from Florida.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Bunny Lai Lai is in England.
Да, а Бонни Лайлай живет в Великобритании. На самом деле, вы видите, альбом действительно был создан огромным количеством людей со всего мира. То есть здесь принимали участие и ребята из Великобритании, из UK, из Ямайки, из Штатов, из разных частей. Okay, Chyna, it looks like this album was done with a lot of great guys around the world, and
yes.
it consists of a lot of souls, a lot of patience in it, really. And all these songs was written by you, or
every song was written by me.
Окей, я только что спросил у Чайны. Она ли написала все песни для этого альбома? Она говорит, что да, действительно, все песни написаны ею, а уже спродюсированы были разными людьми в зависимости от того, какой звук, какое настроение, какой характер нужно было передать для этих записей. Окей, Chyna, we need to hurry up a bit in our stream. and we need to switch to the second part. This one was kind of introduction, and guys will listen to your songs, to your albums, and buy your albums on iTunes. I've added the link inside video description on YouTube to your page on Reggae Discography Blogspot, and on iTunes. So guys could listen to it, could watch it, and could read something about you in details.
Yeah, and I also want to say there's a track produced by my son, Respect Due, that lists all of the amazing producers, engineers, vocalists on the album, as well as myself. So that's the track, the last track, Respect Due, does give credits. Just like back in the day when you have the hardcover and you look at the credit. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Чина говорит, что последний трек Respect Due, он включает в себя всех артистов, всех продюсеров, которые участвовали в записи и создании вот этого альбома. Это что-то типа благодарностей для людей, которые работали над этой работой. Okay, so the second part would be some kind of more interesting for guys here on our stream, because I want to ask you to tell us a bit more about songwriting. How did you start making the songs? Is it kind of inspiration, or it is more like work hours for you? You just decided, oh, this is a great day for new song, and you start writing, or you're just moving around, working, doing anything, and then, wow, I've got an inspiration. I'm ready to start writing. How it works for you?
It's definitely a combination. It does come naturally. The inspiration is just from everyday life, from past experiences, from experiences of others, from movies, you name it, from working with students, because I have a song, for educational song on my first album. And like you said, just inspiration, inspired by life, by living, by livity.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is I do get work, and I get tracks, and I write to those tracks. So the whole written piece would be me lyrically, but the musician would be responsible for the composition, if it's not my production, and mostly it's their production, because I only produce. I'm just like a new producer. So yeah, it's definitely a combination, but more so naturally.
Cool. Я только что спросил у Чайны, чтобы она рассказала немного нам о том, как она пишет свои песни. То есть я у нее спросил, это происходит по вдохновению, или все же она садится за работу и делает что-то, независимо от того, есть вдохновение или нет вдохновения. Она говорит, что в действительности будет верным комбинация обоих из этих вещей. То есть она живет, она уходит, что-то делает, ходит на работу, отдыхает, и вот это все наполняет ее каким-то вдохновением, и в какой-то момент она и пишет песню. В то же время, когда она приходит на студию, это больше рабочий процесс. То есть независимо от того, она вдохновлена или не вдохновлена чем-то, она начинает работать и уже в процессе вот этой работы получает какое-то вдохновение. То есть это вот такой очень цельный сплав вдохновения и работы. Okay, Chyna, thanks a lot for this answer. The second question would be, how did you understand that song you've just write on your textbook or whatever would be a good song, or would be a hit, or would be a kind of interesting piece of material for your audience? How did you understand it?
That's a good question. And even at this level, I feel very comfortable to have conversations with the major people and major writers like Smokey Robinson, like Babyface, like of course Paul McCartney and the Beatles, I mean, people who, not Diane Warren, major mega songwriters, Burt Bacharach, those people for Dionne Warwick. I feel comfortable to say, teach me more. Where I'm at. What do you think of my material? Where am I? Because early on, growing up, I have great teachers, and there's academics again, and they've always told me that I'm a great writer. And I'm like, really? They've just nurtured that development, and you need to hear that for students nowadays. They need to hear the great things that they're good at and to develop it. And then I took writing courses, and then I even took writing courses to teach other teachers about how to teach students to write. So there's always room for growth, but I think for me, when I think about conceptualizing a song, I think about, you mentioned how Beautiful Day was simplistic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do get like too intense with the writing, and it may be too complex, but I do try to convey love messages mostly, and in simplicity, but yet using metaphors and similes and personification, all those literary components, that the figurative language that we say here, to make, and that's what the great songwriters have done. I've studied the craft, so it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Great. Я только что спросил Чайну о том, как она понимает, что песня, которую она написала, является действительно чем-то классным, чем-то интересным. И она говорит, что это хороший вопрос, и в действительности она очень много времени потратила на понимание того, как сделать песню действительно хорошей. Она ходила на курсы авторов, она получала образование в этой области. Она очень много общалась с большими сонграйтерами, такими как Пол Маккартни, Бобби Фейс и многие другие. То есть она очень много обращалась к референсам, она очень много общалась со своими студентами, с другими людьми, спрашивая у них, хорошо или нехорошо. То есть это очень долгий, кропотливый, но в то же время интересный процесс изучения того, как все работает. И она говорит, что в текстах она старается использовать очень много фигур поэтического синтаксиса и тропов. То есть она говорила о метафорах, о персонификациях, об эпитетах. То есть она старается насыщать свои тексты художественными образами. Chyna, it's really a great pleasure to listen to your songs, to your lyrics, because there are not a lot of poetic songwriters and poetic guys in music industry, even in top-notch borders, because people not understand every time all these metaphoristics, all these personifications and stuff like that. But you're not scaring about it. You're trying not to be kind for stupid people, You're trying to build your audience with guys who are passionate and in literature, who passionate in poetic words, in figures of poetic syntaxes. And that's super great. It's really inspiring,
Wow, thank you so much, honestly. And Earl Holder, God bless him for just guiding me musically, and he's the one who took my material and still mastered it, even if it wasn't at the major. He works with the majors, and he saw something in me to say, you know what, I'm going to help you get to the next level, and he knows I'm forever grateful for that. So and I'm grateful for this connection, and yeah, poetry is a part of me. So I'm glad you have that appreciation.
Yeah, of course, with no doubts, really. Your reggae songs are more poetically built than something like, hello guys, here is the sun, here is the ocean, and I'm here and I'm happy. On these words, there are no poetic figures. But
you mentioned something very important. Yes, you mentioned. Think about Bob Marley, who is the epitome of reggae. We could listen to. We were driving we had a road trip recently, and just listening to that music, it still sounds so fresh, even if it was remastered. So vibrant. The lyrics are filled with parables. you know, that you can relate to and dig deep. I mean, it's just, and then the rhythm, the instruments, the backing singers, everything about it was just moving. And
Cool.
I want to get to that level one day.
Great.
Hopefully Gary can help me. And you, Earl.
Cool. Я только что сказал свои впечатления о текстах, о лирике, которую пишет Чайна, что она действительно проникнута поэтическим словом. Это не просто строчки, что я увидел солнце, я увидел море, и мне хорошо. Это действительно поэтические тексты, которые наполнены образами, которые интересно слушать и в которых интересно копаться. И Чайна говорит, действительно, если даже говорить о таких классических исполнителях, как Боб Марли, которого все знают, его музыку очень интересно слушать, его тексты интересно слушать, и интересно двигаться вглубь в познании новых и новых идей, которые скрыты внутри его работ. И Чайна говорит, что в один день она хотела бы, конечно, добраться до его уровня, и смеется в этот момент. Okay, Chyna, we've talked about lyrics previously, but what about music? How did you understand that this instrument would be suitable for your song and this one would be not suitable, or you're using more kind of templates for your tracks, some drums, some bass, some guitars or stuff like that, or you're starting from scratch every time when you're working on new songs?
That's a great question. I want to get to the level where everything is organic, like Oceans and Windows, where everything is done live or mostly, or do a live album. That's a dream of mine. But music, for me, how it was presented came in all directions and all kind of ways. And some of them have already been composed. You know, Jamaica is premier for rhythm-driven albums, which makes Jamaica different and unique, even though people have their own perceptions and, you know, about that. But I appreciate it because people can put their own talent and creativity into each track, and you get a lot out of that in one composition. It shows the creativity in different ways a track can be expanded, if you will, in the artistic way. I don't know about the monetary way, but I'm just talking about the art form itself. So sometimes it is given to me in that way, where it's already composed, the music is already composed. Other times it may have to be built upon. It may be just a simple track where I record, and then the producer, they call it overdub. The producer decides to bring in, you know, a saxophonist or a keyboardist to add an additional pieces to it to make it a composition. It sometimes is done that way too. And you know, again, very rarely I'm in the studio and it's actually made. That only happened one time. But I do, and I shouldn't say that because it was Oceans and the track I had. Oh, sometimes it's a cappella. Oceans and Windows actually was a cappella. I get melodies in my sleep all the time. Even last night, I wrote 2 songs, not full songs, but a chorus or a verse, and I'll record it. And if I'm working on a project, I'll sit and I'll write it out, and then record myself on anything, nothing professional, and I'll send it off because I trust the people that I send it to, and I'll send it all, and they'll compose something around it. With my lyric and melody. That happens a lot.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're making some lyrics, making some acapellas, melodies, and then producer decide which instruments would be most suitable for these compositions.
That's one way, yeah. That's happened a lot, actually.
Yeah, okay, I need to translate it. Я спросил Чайну о том, как она понимает, какие инструменты нужно добавить в аранжировку, чтобы это звучало так, как ей нравится. И она говорит, что в действительности чаще всего получается так, что она пишет песню, она записывает акапеллу, создает какую-то мелодию и отправляет вот это все продюсеру, который будет работать над этой песней, продюсеру, которому Чайна доверяет. И она говорит, что вот в этом случае продюсер чаще всего берет вот эти ее материалы и создает вокруг этого композицию. И эта композиция и является потом тем, что мы слышим. То есть она мало принимает участие в выборе инструментов. Тем не менее, для некоторых треков она приходит на студию, работает с музыкантами, работает с продюсером непосредственно вот в процессе создания трека. То есть продюсер говорит, что давай добавим вот это, давай добавим вот это, и они обсуждают вот эти вещи. То есть в действительности очень интересный процесс. Okay, Chyna, thanks a lot for this answer. And which instruments is a must on your records? So which instruments would be without any doubts on your songs?
That, you know, I don't. Well, let me step back. Sometimes I don't have control over what when I say don't control, I choose if I want to go on it or not. So that, yes. But in the sense of the composition being already produced, I don't have control over that. And when you want to get your voice out there and expose your talent, you don't have that control. However, when there is room for me to make suggestions, I love strings. You know, and I do. Of course, I love the African beat, African drums. Obviously, that's reggae, and you know, and R&B music and rhythm music, and most popular music has the African drum beat. So that's a given. But I love strings. I love any kind of string, violin. I just love string. It just does something to me emotionally when I hear strings, and I just love. And I love piano too, but for me, strings.
Cool. Я только что спросил у Чайны, какие инструменты она считает наиболее важными в своих треках. И она говорит, что в этом моменте надо немного отступить назад, потому что у нее не всегда есть возможность контролировать записи, которыми занимаются продюсеры. Но если у нее есть возможность, тогда она всегда старается добавить в свои треки струнные. Она говорит, что пианино, вот, ну, тут тоже важный инструмент, но говорит, струнные — это вот то, что она чувствует, это то, что ей действительно нравится. Она говорит, что любые виды струнных работают хорошо. И, конечно же, африканские барабаны, без которых не может быть регги, не может быть R&B музыки, то есть это вот, ну, такие важнейшие элементы. When we talking and thinking about reggae, we keep in mind standard sound of reggae, you know, like half beat, like
drum and bass,
like bass, like da da dum da 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 dum da 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 dum.
They use a lot of horns. They use a lot of horns. The whole horn section, very popular in reggae music. You're trying to walk on this way, or you're trying more experimenting with instruments when you're playing and performing reggae. What was the question?
When you're performing and singing reggae, did you try to walk on standard way of thinking about instruments, or you're trying more experimenting with instruments, adding something more than bass, more than guitar, more than African drums?
Well, I wouldn't say more than. I'm still developing, and if I had it my way, I would let each instrument speak to the audience in its own perfect way, because each instrument has a voice, and that would be a part of my performance act. So, you know, that's what I would love to happen. You know, when I'm able to touch the big arenas and maybe open up for some of the amazing big Russian acts and European acts and acts in Africa, acts all over the world. I would like for each instrument to take its ownership. And that's why I really applaud musicians who give that instrumentalist the time to marry with the audience and showcase their skills, because they're a part of it. Every voice, every instrument is all a part of the gel and the magic that happens. And I want to mention, I talked about strings, the new song that I have that's promoting itself, really, called Kiss.
Yeah, great song.
Thank you very much. has, and that's a new song, it has the string element in the end and piece. And people are telling me that that's the best record that I have to date that's been released, because I have some stuff coming out too. But that's what I'm hearing. But I don't know. You know, it's all perception. It's all.
Yeah, it's all perception. I really like Kiss, but you know, maybe Beautiful Day would be better for me. Not because of production.
And a lot of my songs are mastered by Earl Holder too. I must mention that.
Yeah.
Beautiful Day was mastered by Earl Holder.
Cool. I like the song not because of production, firstly, because Kiss looks more professional if you're thinking about it. But I really like song itself. Yeah,
Beautiful day.
Great.
Beautiful day. Thank you. You know, I'm going to take that into consideration and talk to the producer about a video, just because I mean, we wanted to do one, but maybe you're just pushing me further.
Yeah, great. This song is super beautiful, and I've showed some of your songs to my friends, and they told me that Beautiful Day is a beautiful song.
Thank you.
Super
cool. Taking notes on that.
Oh yeah, of course. I need to translate what we're talking about. Я спросил Чайну о том, как она формирует инструменты для своих композиций. Она движется больше по стандартному пути, который был принят в регги, или как-то иначе это все происходит. И она говорит, что на самом деле она не слишком много заморачивается по поводу того, какие инструменты должны быть в композиции, но она очень много внимания уделяет тому, чтобы каждый инструмент говорил за себя. Она говорит, что когда она исполняет какие-то песни, ей очень важно слышать инструменты и очень важно слышать их голоса, которые органично сплетаются с ее голосом и тем самым создают какую-то цельную, законченную композицию. Она упомянула песню «Kiss», которая говорит сама за себя, которая очень быстро набирает сейчас популярность. И на этой песне звучат скрипки, которые очень ей нравятся. И она говорит, что действительно инструменты очень многое делают для трека, позволяя голосу действительно блистать. Okay, Chyna, we need to finish in a couple of minutes, and I want to push you a bit to the main question, I guess. When you're thinking about music, when you're thinking about songs, could you understand that this song would be a hit and this song wouldn't be a hit? Is there something special inside hits, in your opinion? You could catch and you could understand, and if you want, you could implement inside new songs.
Well, that's a great question again. I think when I write songs, I automatically think everyone's going to love it or them. Automatically, I think that. I think most artists who write songs probably feel the same way, or songwriters. But after testing the audience and doing our blast, our small promotional team, doing our blast and getting responses, we're seeing, which songs have hit potential given the right exposure. Because it really is just, once it's on a major radio station in New York, like a Hot 97 or Power 105 or Z100, major stations in New York or major stations in Europe, around the world, in Africa, then, it's formulaic, it's psychological, audiences hear it, they love it, they sing it. But for really to have that longevity, I really, really lean on the expert opinions and songs that have those kind of ingredients. So I try to emulate those in my own way, though. It's all original, but in my own way. And a great song is a great song is a great song is a great song. So I try.
Great. Я только что спросил у Чайны довольно сложный вопрос. Я спросил, как она считает, создаются хиты. Она чувствует это или что-то есть в этом внутри, что очень тяжело уловить, но если ты улавливаешь, ты можешь это повторить в будущих треках. И на самом деле Chyna говорит, что каждую песню, которую она пишет, она считает, что она шикарная, что она действительно всем понравится. Но в то же время, когда она ее написала, она очень надеется на продюсеров и экспертов, которым она доверяет, которые могут сказать, эта песня действительно классная или это что-то еще недоработанное. И она старается делать песни в таком формате, чтобы их можно было крутить по топовым радиостанциям в Нью-Йорке, в Европе, в Африке. То есть она много внимания обращает на классные песни, которые люди слушают, люди хотят петь, и она также старается в своих песнях вот это восприятие вложить. Okay, Chyna, thanks a lot for your answer. And if I'll ask you for advice for beginners, for guys who just starting to be an artist, starting his music career, what would your first advice to these guys?
Well, automatically they should just develop a love of music. I think that when you try to come in the business and just really just want a quick popularity kind of scam type of, that way it's really not the best because it doesn't develop you as a singer, songwriter, artist, musician. So nurture that love, and nurturing that love entails studying the craft, studying who you really like, who they liked, because I listened to some of my favorites and I'm Michael Jackson was a big fan of Sam Cooke and of course I forgot but Fred Astaire and Frank Sinatra. Thank you. I'm saying thank you because in my brain, like, that's right, how could I forget? So I love Michael Jackson, but he loved these people and James Brown, those are people he emulates. So really digging deeper and thinking about studying your craft. I think after that, and just surrounding yourself with creative people, that's important. It helped me, those experiences, good and bad, being around artists, being in studios, being around engineers, being around other writers. That's important to surround yourself with that. I mean, I was blessed that my family was from a real rich cultural capital called Wataos, which is actually poverty-stricken, but rich in so many different ways. The mecca for reggae music is from Wataos, Kingston, Jamaica, where my family's from. But surrounding yourself with other people that are like-minded in music is very important because you learn from them, Cool. So those are the two main advice. Study the craft and surround yourself with like-minded people.
Great. Great advices. Thanks a lot. I will translate it because it's super important. Я только что спросил Чайну о том, какой бы она совет дала начинающим музыкантам, начинающим артистам, которые только начинают делать первые шаги в своей музыкальной карьере. И Chyna говорит, что самое важное — это изучать свое искусство. Она говорит, что первое — это должна быть любовь к музыке. И без этого бессмысленно начинать музыкальную карьеру, потому что в любом случае это счастье не принесет. Даже если просто следовать каким-то правилам, которые могут привести к вершинам музыкального бизнеса, без любви к музыке, ничего это не будет иметь никакого значения. В то же время она говорит, что очень важным моментом является прослушивание музыки, которая вам нравится, и особенно важно прослушивать музыку, которая нравится людям, которых вы любите слушать. Вот она привела в пример Майкла Джексона, и она говорит, что она начала с Майкла Джексона, а потом она заинтересовалась, какая же музыка нравится Майклу Джексону. И она посмотрела, что ему нравится Фрэнк Синатра, Джеймс Браун и другие ребята, которые раньше вошли в индустрию и которые вдохновили ребят, которые вдохновили Chyну. То есть докапываться до корней, докапываться до сути, изучать вот эти моменты, это очень важно. Учиться, учиться и учиться. Второй совет, который дала Chyna, это окружить себя творческими людьми. Она говорит, что на Ямайке, в на студии, которой она работала, Warehouse, она встретила очень много интересных творческих людей. В то же время в Штатах она окружила себя людьми, которые со страстью относятся к музыке, любят музыку, включены в музыкальное движение. И когда ты находишься вокруг и в окружении вот этих людей, ты учишься у них и, соответственно, становишься лучше. То есть, резюмируя, она сказала, что 2 совета. Изучайте свое искусство и окружите себя творческими людьми. Okay, Chyna, we need to finish our stream today. Thanks a lot for your answers. I hope guys was interested in you, was happy about our blah blah talking, you know. But there are a lot of interesting advices. There are a lot of interesting moments in your career, in your music making as songwriter, in production, in stuff like that. You're awesome, and guys understand it, and guys appreciate it. On text chat, we've got a lot of thanks to you.
Thank you so much. Mercy.
Ребята, скажите спасибо Чайне в текст-чате за сегодняшнюю трансляцию. Было очень интересно. Она поделилась своей музыкой, поделилась своими соображениями касательно создания музыки. А я сейчас вернусь к ней. Okay, Chyna, I've just say guys to say thank you to you for your advices, for your time, for your patience, and for sharing your music, because your music is so exciting and so great.
Thank you. And I just want to just highlight a couple of new songs outside of my album Higher. One is Kiss. He mentioned Upload, produced by Bad Breed Records. Kiss is produced by Lloyd Mullings. Jaja is Love. I Do,
Yeah,
which you mentioned. Happy by Gary Sutherland. And some new music coming out called Killer Vibes Rhythm. I think you're going to love that. And of course, Hot Love Rhythm that Gary Sutherland produced is going to be out next week. So we have some new music coming out. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to translate that.
Yeah,
So,
great. Чайна сказала большое спасибо всем за прекрасное настроение, за прекрасные отзывы. И она говорит, что чтобы вы обратили внимание на несколько из ее песен. Вот новая песня Kiss, которая вышла совсем недавно, песня Happy, которая была спродюсирована Гарри Сазерлендом. На следующей неделе выходит еще один трек, который был спродюсирован Гарри Сазерлендом, и Чайна приглашает вас послушать его. Очень много классных вещей на ее альбомах. Обязательно послушайте ее альбомы 20 Years in the Making and Ready for the World и альбом Higher, который вышел совсем недавно. Я надеюсь, что музыка Чайны вдохновит вас так же, как она вдохновила меня. Большое всем за трансляцию. Заходите на сайт yorshoffmix.com, подписывайтесь на наши обновления в соцсетях и не забывайте следить за выходом новых видео на канале Yorshoff Mix. До скорой встречи. Плывите к звуку. Chyna, say bye-bye to guys.
It's a beautiful day. And even when it's raining, you shower me with your love. It's a beautiful day. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day hanging out with you. Thanks to Earl Holder once again. Yorshoff, thank you. Mercy. And Chyna Nicole said, one love. Bless up.
Thanks to you, Chyna. Bye-bye, guys. Пока, ребята. Увидимся.